CBS appears to have finally taken a bold corrective step regarding one of the most debated character arcs in the entire Young Sheldon franchise by reshaping Georgie Cooper's long-standing divisive image through his continued development in First Marriage Season 2. And in doing so, the network has not only rewritten the audience's emotional expectations surrounding Sheldon Cooper's older brother, but also reframed how viewers perceive the broader Cooper family legacy across multiple television iterations. For years, Georgie was trapped inside a framework largely defined by the Big Bang Theory's darkly humorous commentary, which portrayed him as the bitter, directionless, underachieving sibling overshadowed by his genius brother. Yet, First Marriage Season 2 finally offers the character something that longtime fans repeatedly insisted was missing: narrative dignity, emotional maturity, authentic purpose, and a version of humanity that aligns more naturally with the trauma, economic struggle, and chaotic family environment that shaped his youth. What CBS has delivered is not a cosmetic redemption arc, but a deeply considered reevaluation of years-long audience assumptions built on incomplete information. Before First Marriage began airing, Georgie had long existed as one of television's most misunderstood family comedy characters because the primary lens through which audiences knew him came from Sheldon's warped recollection, filtered through years of unresolved resentment. Young Sheldon softened his image far more than the Big Bang Theory ever did, but the spin-off still ended while many felt Georgie's growth was unfinished. Now, First Marriage Season 2 is finally giving him narrative ownership, releasing him from what many believe to be a permanent comedic prison and proving that his supposed immaturity and lack of direction were never defining traits, but transitional phases shaped by circumstances, responsibility burdens, socioeconomic limitations, and premature adulthood brought on by fatherhood. CBS has chosen not only to explore who Georgie is, but to clarify who he was never meant to be, allowing viewers to finally view him with context instead of stereotype. The most fascinating shift occurs through Georgie and Mandy's evolving partnership. As First Marriage Season 2 aggressively dismantles the idea that Georgie is destined to repeat generational disappointments or remain stuck in a permanent cycle of impulsiveness. Throughout the season, his struggles are not framed as comedic incompetence, but as real-world conflict reflective of early parenthood, emotional baggage, and internalized fear of failure. This is a radical contrast to the sarcastic shorthand the Big Bang Theory offered, in which Georgie was merely referenced as someone who did not appreciate Sheldon's brilliance and instead squandered opportunities. First Marriage refuses to accept that version as gospel, and instead shows that what Sheldon interpreted as ignorance or jealousy was actually survival mode. Georgie was a teenager supporting a baby, navigating grief after losing his father, managing household responsibility while witnessing his family fracture in real time. Season 2 finally examines this long-ignored emotional reality and creates a version of Georgie that is both empathetic and narratively justified. Another major part of the character evolution is how CBS has chosen to utilize Mandy as an equally dimensional narrative force rather than a plot device. Her presence fuels Georgie's growth while simultaneously highlighting how he learns to communicate, negotiate, compromise, reflect, and become intentionally present rather than accidentally supportive. Their relationship is not sanitized for sitcom convenience. Instead, Season 2 illustrates the difficult work of forming a genuine family unit with shared goals, parental responsibilities, financial concerns, and unresolved insecurities. For the first time, audiences witness Georgie truly analyze his behavior, internal motivations, and emotional shortcomings. He is no longer a comedic placeholder. or the butt of genius-based jokes, and instead emerges as one of the franchise's most complex emotional centers, driving the new season's thematic maturity and narrative depth. The portrayal of parenthood is particularly important to how CBS reframes Georgie's identity. First Marriage Season 2 repeatedly emphasizes that parenting does not automatically create wisdom, but requires active participation, humility, sacrifice, and emotional stamina. Georgie is shown navigating real-world complications like employment pressure, conflicting relationship expectations, community judgment, and his own fear of becoming a disappointment. Instead of portraying him as the reckless teen father viewers once assumed, the series redirects focus to highlight how much responsibility he willingly accepted, even when ill-equipped. This matters because it directly combats the Big Bang Theory's decades-long portrayal of him as careless, dismotivated, and intellectually limited. CBS understands that the modern audience demands realism, and therefore offers a portrayal that resonates with viewers who have struggled through difficult early adult experiences, complicated love stories, or financial instability. What is particularly striking about Season 2 is how it chooses to address Georgie's divisive fan reputation directly. In previous shows, his story was largely told indirectly, filtered through sarcastic memory or secondary dialogue. Now, audiences finally observe his decision-making firsthand, allowing them to understand the emotional reasoning behind each choice. Whether confronting his financial anxieties, navigating disagreements with Mandy, negotiating familial boundaries with Mary or Meemaw, or trying to define his personal identity outside of his father's shadow, Georgie emerges as a layered individual with vision, ambition, and moral grounding. First Marriage refuses to flatten his story for comedic convenience. Instead, the writing insists that Georgie deserves the same narrative respect that Sheldon always received. While Sheldon's journey was centered around intellectual exceptionalism, Georgie's is based on perseverance, humanity, and emotional adaptability, which are equally compelling narrative tools. Another key element Season 2 handles gracefully is the delicate shift away from Sheldon-centric storytelling. Although the Cooper legacy is foundational to the franchise, First Marriage exists not as an extension of Sheldon's memory, but as a corrective perspective that balances narrative bias. CBS smartly reframes Georgie as someone who was never defined by what he lacked intellectually, but by what he possessed emotionally and socially. He is the Cooper sibling with authentic interpersonal skill,